Hello everybody out there watching on YouTube, and welcome to race number 20 of Season 4 of the NNSCRA Marvel Studios Cup Series. I'm Levi McIntyre, the voice of the NNSCRA Marvel Studios Cup Series, here to welcome you to the Goodyear Challenge here at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, as we're getting set for 10 laps of racing here at this brand new road course to the schedule. First time ever in the history of this channel that we are racing at this racetrack. Now, before we take a look at the starting lineup, we gotta go through a couple of notes. First, unfortunately, because of the track only allowing 39 cars, 3 rookies had to be put out of the race because of certain issues. So, unfortunately, 3 rookies did not make this race. But without further ado, let's take a look at the point standings, the top 12 and the wild cards currently heading into this race. So Joshua Sekuli extended his points lead to a 35-point advantage over last week's winner, Tim Fiegel. Third is William Brock. Fourth, Sean Galligan. Fifth, Chris Dollerton. Sixth, Dylan Young. Seventh, Dylan Poteet. Eighth, Dylan Thoreau. Gosh, a lot of Dylans right there in that group. Ninth, James McLeod. 10th, James Qualls. The James group right there. 11th, Kyle Matthews, and then 12th, Carson Gum. So that is the top 12. The wild cards are still Zach Flickinger and Johnny Gardner, just like last week for the same reasons we already know about. Still plenty of time, though. But let's look at the starting lineup. In the last row, starting last is James Qualls. Top 10, Matt McIntyre on the pole for today. Starting next to him, Dylan Jacobs. Row 2, Ashland Boyd, James Shelley. Row 3, Seth Cole, Pichu London. Row 4, Joshua Collar, Dorian Facepuncher. And then row 5, Jake Baskinger and Cody Lamas. Let's get the command to fire engines for the Goodyear Challenge at Mid-Ohio.
Is this on? Drivers, start your engines.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is time to boogity, boogity, boogity go racing. Lap number 1 is complete, and Dylan Jacobs managed to take the lead before we got to this part of the racetrack. So right now, Dylan Jacobs and affiliate teammate James Shelley right now in the top 2. Matt McIntyre fell back to 3rd as a result. And then it's a big gap separating back to 4th, which is Pichu London. And then right behind them, we got a small battle going on for the 5th position between Ashland Boyd and Dorian Facepuncher. Facepuncher running right behind the 10 car, and it doesn't seem like we get a good enough camera to avoid these trees. So we got to keep going back and forth between 2 different camera shots. Seth Cole, meanwhile, has started to kind of close in on the two cars ahead of him. And then the closest battle I see going on the racetrack, side by side, and this looks like it's for the 12th position, or the 13th position, between Jake Baskinger and Zach Flickinger. Right now the 18 trying to run the inside of the 49. Whoa, some contact. I saw right there on heading into that corner, some contact forcing the 18 to slip back a little bit. But meanwhile, back up here at the front, Dylan Jacobs has a almost 0.6 of a second lead over teammate James Shelley. Matt McIntyre, on the other hand, is about the same distance back from James Shelley in third. And then Peachy London sort of the middleman between the top three and the rest of the field. Meanwhile, Face Puncher thought about trying to go on the inside of the 10 car, but just couldn't quite make it stick, as everyone's running pretty much single file as we're waiting to get through these stupid trees. Meanwhile, Jake Baskinger not only is trying to get back to the back bumper of the 49 of Zach Flickinger, but he also had James McLeod approaching him in the rear end. And now Baskinger's now right there to the back bumper of the 49. These two have been going at pretty much ever since the drop of the green flag. And this is for the 13th spot on the racetrack. Going to helicopter view to kind of look and see how everyone is doing. Looks like everybody is still running just fine. Less than 7 laps to go, and right now the 78 not really pulling away big time from the 71. The 71's still pretty much within reach of the 78. That last time by, the 78 only pulled away by about 0.07 of a second, so not really a major gap separating these top two. And let's look at lap times. Yeah, you can definitely tell Jacobs is definitely faster than the 71, but not by much. And the 32 of Matt McIntyre's maybe thinking about trying to enter into that fray to make this battle a little more interesting. Meanwhile, Peachy London sort of in his own zip code right now in 4th. Running very comfortably in 4th, might I add. Looking around to see if there's a battle, if there's any other battles going on the racetrack. And no, not really. Everybody's still virtually running single file all across the racetrack. But meanwhile, up here at the front, the 71 and the 32 still trying to gain a little bit on the 78. Let's see the margin now. Yeah, you can definitely tell they are closing in on the 78, and that time Shelley gained about less than 0.1 of a second on the 78 that last time by, and now it's less than 6 laps to go here in the Goodyear Challenge. And then you got Matt McIntyre, who gained a little bit on both of those guys. Right now, all the way back here in 5th, about 3 seconds behind 4th, is Ashland Boyd. And he's trying to keep the 62 of Dorian Face Puncher behind him to keep that spot. And Face Puncher, on the other hand, he is somewhat in desperation at this point in the season, because he's only had, like I said, one top 5/top 10 finish this season. And he's trying to do all he can to get as many points and perhaps try to get as many wins as possible to try and get one of those wild card spots for the chase. But it's just been proven to be quite the challenge for the 62. Back up here at the front, let's see how much of a gap separates the top 3 now. Yeah, the 71 and the 32 are closing in. on the 78, but I don't think it's going to be quite enough to try and win this race. They're going to have to go balls to the wall, pedal to the metal if they're going to have any hope of getting around the 78. But Shelley, he's slowly catching him. The 71 right on, trying to get to the back bumper of his affiliate teammate, but just that clean air that you get on these road courses just really, really helps your race car out and keeps guys behind them at bay. And Shelley right there went in that corner a little bit too high, and now that's helped to bring the 32 of Matt McIntyre to try and reel him in for second. Peachy London, on the other hand, is just still hanging out all by himself. Looking around for any battles going on throughout the field, and again, not really much happening in the back of the field. But yeah, you can definitely tell that little wobble on the part of the 71 when he took that corner a little bit too high definitely cost him a little bit of time. Let's see the margin now. It was a half a second. Let's see how it is now. 3/4 of a second now separates the top two. Less than 4 laps to go here at Mid-Ohio. And Dylan Jacobs so far has dominated this race, and he didn't even get the pole. He started second and managed to somehow get around the 32 before they got to this part of the racetrack. Dylan Jacobs comes into this race 27th in points. He's had a lot of good finishes, but he's been caught up in a lot of wrecks, including that big wreck at Kentucky last week when he was running in the top 10 at that moment. He's definitely trying to look for some sort of redemption to kind of help him out to try and make the chase, although he might have to win another race if he's going to have any hope of making this season's chase for the championship, to make it into the chase for 3 seasons in a row. Actually, 2 seasons in a row, because we didn't run a chase in season 2. He was just top 10 in points. But meanwhile, Shelley, it looked like he might have learned from his mistake a little bit, and now he's starting to reel into 78 again. Let's take a look at the margin now. I would assume it's back down to about a half a second, and it is exactly a half a second. Let's see who's ran the fastest lap of the race so far today. And it's been Peachy London at a 85.707. Less than 3 laps to go. James Shelley is trying to give it all he's got. Trying to go for his first win of his career in this series, I believe. I don't think he's won in this series yet, and he's trying very hard, although again he made that same mistake of running higher than he should be in that corner, but at least this time he didn't lose nearly as much time as he did a few laps ago when they came around there, but still is losing a bit of time. And even Matt McIntyre has been losing ground to those guys in front of him. Peachy London, on the other hand, still kind of just relaxing a little bit, and it looks like something happened to Ashman Boyd. There he is. He fell back to 7th. I guess he got moved out of the way by both Seth Cole and Dorian Facepuncher. Didn't see when that took place, but there you go. Looks like we got a little bit of a battle going on right here between 2 drivers in the top 5 in points, Joshua Sekuli and Sean Galligan. And Sekuli back here running in 27th. And not really having a good day, so that's going to kind of help out a lot of guys in the top 10 in points to gain ground in the point standings, as we are less than 2 laps to go here at Mid-Ohio. Shelley only lost a little over 1/10 of a second that last lap. Still is within reach of the 78. But he's going to have to really work this corner and not take it too high. Let's see if he listened. He actually did. He actually followed the same line as the 78 did. And you can tell it's definitely working. He is reeling in the 78 just steadily, but not by much. It seems like the best chance the 71's going to have to get around the 78 is if he continues to run the same line as the 78 and hope the 78 makes a mistake in a corner, and then he can capitalize on it to try and go for the win. But right now the 78's been running really strong up here at the front, but the 71 is not giving up. He is there. As the white flag is out and the margin of the lead, a little over 0.3 of a second. Again, all Shelley's got to do is just follow where the 78 is going and hope he makes a mistake and then capitalize on it. But Shelley is there. But we're going to be coming to that corner again soon where the 71 has struggled a little bit except for that last lap. Let's see, is the 71 going to follow the same line, or is he going to make that mistake again? Oh, he took the corner too high again. That's going to cost him. That is going to perhaps be the deciding factor right there. If only the 71 had followed the same line as the 78, he might have still been able to reel him in. But that was the mistake on the 71's part. That's the third time this race that he took that corner too high, and it's going to cost him the win. As we're getting ready to come through the final corners here at Mid-Ohio, and now we're getting ready to come out of the last corner. Checkered flag is getting ready to wave. First win of the season after struggling so far this season. Dylan Jacobs wins the Goodyear Challenge at Mid-Ohio. A little bit of redemption for the 78 team. But also a good day for not only him, but for Furniture Row and Backmarker Motorsports, as we're going to look at the results. James Shelley finishing out in second, but man, I really thought he had a chance if he didn't take that particular corner too high. He might have had a shot at it. Matt McIntyre still coming out with a solid performance in third. Pichu London finishing out in fourth. And then Dorian Facepuncher rounding out the top five. Seth Cole with a good run in the sixth position. Highest finishing rookie Cody Lamas in seventh. Zachary Fitzwater finishing in eighth. William Brock finishes in ninth. And then Joshua Collard rounds out the top 10. Rest of the top 20 was Emmanuel Hartnett, Zach Flickinger, Ashland Boyd. Man, he fell 8 spots throughout the race. Jake Baskinger, James McLeod, Johnny Gardner, Kyle Matthews, Paul Minnick, Tim Fiegel, Benjamin Miles. Rest of the top 30 was Shane Lake, Trent Dunham, Dylan Poteet, Jessica Sheldon, Dylan Thoreau, Joshua Sekuli, Sean Galligan, Jay Jefferson, William Duncan, Anthony McCurry. And then the final 9 cars were Preston Plord, Raphael LeDuc, Chris Dollarton, Matt Haas, Charles Sandfer, DJ Curtis, Dylan Young, Carson Gum, and James Qualls. Well, that does it for our coverage here today at Mid-Ohio. Next week, we head to Pocono for the second time this season for the Pennsylvania 400. But until then, here are your results, rookie points, and regular points heading into Pocono. And this is Levi McIntyre signing off.